And Goldman's results come against the backdrop of other big banks reporting earnings, and some of them, as Michelle was saying, were pretty disappointing. Last week, JP Morgan Chase and Morgan Stanley both reported a slump in profits and warned of an impending economic slowdown. Well, for more on the state of Wall Street banks post-pandemic, we're joined now by the Chief Executive of XM Australia, Peter McGuire, a friend of the program who we speak to regularly. Great to get you on the show, Peter. Just picking up on what my colleague Michelle was reporting on from the US, we're looking at the state of the banking earnings and really hearing some very worrying noises out of Wall Street bosses. What's going on?
Well, exactly, Karishma. You've seen a big washout as far as share prices over the previous 6 months. And we're seeing, I think, a lot of fear entering Main Street. Second quarter profits were well down with Goldman's and with Bank of America. So, yes, it's not a pleasant time to be on Wall Street banking circles.
Yeah, Peter, are these banks signaling that a recession is on the cards? I mean, they're cutting costs, they're looking at their expenses, they're not hiring as much as they used to.
Well, exactly right. And that seems to be the first part of it. And then the main course of where we move forward is, how are your quarter earnings performing? What are the analysts saying? Where are you driving income from? Deal flow is really tight as far as investment banking revenue. So that's impacting moving forward and what the situation looks like for the next 6 months.
Yeah, when you look out at the next 6 months and even beyond, Peter, and take into account, as you've pointed out, that slower growth environment for the business of many of these major Wall Street banks, how does that trickle down to the rest of us? What does that mean, and how we should prepare for what looks to be an imminent recession?
Well, exactly. I mean, you've got to tighten your belts, and if big companies are doing it, then that's going to come across to the consumer. So as far as sales, retail sales, and all of those inputs that we look at collectively each week, what the sentiment is. And so I think that there's a lot of fear entering Wall Street. There's a fair bit of fear entering Main Street as far as inflation and recession. And how the next 6 months play out are going to be very interesting for the consumer worldwide.
Indeed, and worrying times as well for consumers all over the world, as you point out there. Peter McGuire, Chief Executive of XM Australia.